to another edition of this assembly. This is your servant of Yahweh, Sayah. Welcome you, greet you in the name of the Father, Yahuwah. And we have a lot to go over, so I'm going to do my best to get a lot in today. We left off in Genesis chapter 3. Today we start chapter 4. In the name of your Son, I ask you to bless these teachings you've given to me to share with others. And I pray that it's edifying to them and helps them to grow and build a relationship with you. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, Amen. Genesis, check that. Bere'Shiyth 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Et Kua, his woman, and she conceived, and bore Et Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Et Yahuwah. Verse 2, and she again bore Et, his brother, Et Havel, and Havel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So what were they doing all this time? They being Adam and Kua. They were young, needless to say. They started off, wasn't even 1 year old, and they walking full grown, So they were young, but it seems that they knew the intricacies of life. Nonetheless, if they understood sexual intercourse, had they been having relations? This verse says that he knew his wife. Is that to say that they were dating and he had come to know her likes and dislikes, what makes her happy or feel good, what makes her tick? Or does that mean that they were having sex so often that he knew her inside, out, and inside? Sure, you've never heard it like that, right? Now, they were ready to conceive. And during this get to know one another time, this get to know one another period, did he need to be taught how to use not only his body, but how to use hers? Did Elohim need to direct them in intercourse? Well, I think it is a variation of all of that. Then again, maybe he just simply wanted to know who she was before they had sex. Perhaps relating was important to him. Now, the sons that they had, Cain and Havel, it seems to me that they were twins. Interesting that Havel's name means that he is Adam's son. Now, what does that say about Cain? Something very important went unmentioned thus far in the scriptures. Yahweh planted a garden immediately after making man. He knew that man would need food for the physical nourishment of his body. Even though everything was perfect at that time, the body was perfectly made to expel the waste from consuming food. Now, it is my belief during this time in the Garden of Eden that Yahweh himself taught Adam how to care for his body. I believe Yahweh taught him how to clean himself. Otherwise, Adam and Kua would have been very unpungent for a long time. They would have stank, to say the least. Yahweh was too proud of what he had accomplished with man to allow him to be that way. Therefore, it would have been incumbent upon him to teach them these things himself as a good father, as the good father. I thought it was interesting that, he planted a garden, made them food. So, with food comes waste. They would have also needed to, care for their teeth, know how to wash up, things like that. So I'm sure he taught them, even though they were born with probably a lot of knowledge, everything right now was very personal with him. And he took things and did things in a personal, informal way, like any parent interacting with their child. Verse 3, and in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahuwah. And Havel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahuwah had respect unto Havel and to his offering. Verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Now, it must have been tough picking out the first fruits and determining which was best, particularly seeing how, for the most part, even though their parents, Adam and Kua, had transgressed and were disobedient, and even though there was more or less a curse put on the earth, the things that were growing there was still in a pretty good environment. So I don't think that they would have had problems with worms or anything like that affecting the fruit. You know, I wouldn't think that the flocks would have produced any kind of animal that had some kind of disease. So it would have been pretty easy to pick out, I would think, an offering to give. Verse 6. So Yahuwah said unto Cain, why are you wroth, and why is your countenance fallen? Verse 7. If you do well, shall you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin lies at the door. And unto you shall be his desire, and you shall rule over him. Now, this is some pretty interesting wording here in verse 7. Next to Yahuwah, sin's desire is hedonism based in lusts of the flesh. Therefore, he shall rule over licentiousness and other liberal hedonistic behaviors. Now, if you don't remember, when I introduced sin, when I first talked about Adam and Kua, when they were disobedient, it seems as though sin is a individual, some sort of entity or being. So sin seems to have motives. He seems to have personality, if you will, things that he's interested in accomplishing. Therefore, if he's lying at the door, that would imply that he's there waiting for Adam to more or less see things his way. I'm sorry, Cain and Adam and anybody else, including you. It seems like he's there waiting to cast his influence on you, to share with you his philosophies. And when he do that, what he's doing is tempting you, trying to persuade you. So unto you shall be his desire. He's going to share his feelings with you, his desires, with you. I didn't want to repeat the word, but that's what it is. He wants to share his desires with you, and you shall rule over him. I would think that is to say that he's saying that Cain is going to adopt those desires, those philosophies, and he's going to make them his own. And he's going to act on those desires, and he's going to, take into belief his philosophies. Verse 8, and Cain talked with Havel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Havel, his brother, and slew him. The writer is emphasizing that they are brothers. It seems that they did things together. It says that Cain talked with Havel, his brother, and it came to pass. And it came to pass is indicating that time had went by, as you would gather. So during this time that, had gone by since they gave their offering and Cain spoke with Yahweh, that they were in the field. And perhaps they worked with each other in the field, tending crops and or, Havel's flocks. Whatever they did together, they obviously had a close relationship to where they were comfortable in each other's presence. That is when Cain, who likely was able to kill his brother, probably without much of a struggle. The language here suggests that Cain grew angry or filled with hate for Havel. He then unleashed his fury on his brother like a tidal wave and overcame him and killed him. It's hard, if not impossible, to fight a tidal wave. We don't know here whether or not Cain fought back. We do know that Havel, he rose up, in saying that he rose up, it seemed like he did it suddenly. And he overpowered his brother. And he was able to kill him. That implies that there was a lot of anger, a lot of pent-up angst that he had against his brother Havel. Verse 9, and Yahuwah said unto Cain, where is Havel your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I to guard my brother? Obviously, Cain told a bit of a lie because he knew that his brother Havel was wherever it is he left him. Either that was in the field or maybe he, took his body and hid it out in the woods, away from the fields. Maybe he, put it in the cave someplace. He knew where the body was at. And he's lying to Yahweh. I'm sure that his parents had let them know who Yahweh was and what his expectations are. So why lie to him? Verse 10. And he said, Yahweh said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. Now the blood is an aspect of life that Yahweh breathed into the nostrils of man. Remember where in the, it wasn't in the garden, prior to Yahweh putting Adam in the garden, right after he formed the man, he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Like I said, he could have, just, blew it out right at his nostrils into the man's, or he could have gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation or suscitation in that case. Whatever the case was, I'm of the mind that, blood and other bodily fluids were among this life that he breathed into the nostrils. So that blood crying to him is a way of saying that what he breathed out is still in communication with him. So if it's out of the body, it can communicate with Yahweh, being that it came from Yahweh, and it is the life. So I'm gonna wrap it up right here. It's chapter 4 starts off a little slow. We just came off of this huge emotional part in chapter 3 with old Dusty Man, with Adam and Kua being disobedient. Now we're moving into chapter 4, and it's moving, kind of slowly, but bear with me. It's about to pick up, and it's about to pick up really fast and really hard. So until next time, this is Sayah, your servant of Yahweh, bidding you a great time and enjoy this good day.